Alright, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Mile County College Football Podcast, episode 7. Again, we're going to do 2 episodes this week. Trying to decide how we're going to do it. I think we're just going to do our recap just on this episode of last week, since there's a decent amount to talk about. No live reaction tomorrow. Today's Monday. We're recording on Monday this week just because of Thanksgiving break and stuff. No live reaction tomorrow. I think we're going to record on Wednesday on Zoom talking about the rankings from Tuesday night, our own rankings, the highs and stuff like we usually do, and then go into this week and some other stuff, some special stuff this week hasn't been talked about the past couple weeks. So we're just going to recap today from the games last week, and we can go ahead and get started. Starting at 11 a.m. Saturday morning, Navy defeats UCF. In a
I'm so mad about that.
Interesting game. Now that, in a sense of things, does not knock UCF out of the American.
They actually still have the highest odds to get there.
Yeah, which is something that we will talk about in the next episode. But just a bad look. That's what I would say.
Very bad look.
For UCF. And Navy is a team that has 4 wins, can't get bowl eligible now though, but has 4 wins and has looked pretty decent, at least in these past 2 weeks that I know of. Haven't really been keeping up with Navy, but last 2 weeks they play Notre Dame really close, who is a top 15 team probably this upcoming week.
Yeah.
And then they just beat UCF, who I think I had at maybe 20 last week. Had them at 19, so a top 20 team. I think what were they in real rankings? 20?
Something like that.
21?
Something like
yeah,
that.
something like that. But either way, a ranked top 25 UCF team. Not much I can really comment more on. You want to say anything about that? I'm
just mad that Davis picked Navy. Or did he pick Navy?
He did pick Navy, yeah.
I'm mad Davis picked Navy.
I'm going to try to do this the way that I usually do it, where I kind of go off of the games that we didn't really watch any of.
Yeah.
So we just briefly talk about it, and then get into it. Next is Vanderbilt, Florida. Florida, bad loss, and I'm going to start calling it the Cam curse.
Y'all didn't even want to talk about it.
Yeah, didn't even want to talk about it. It was that bad. And like I said, I'm going to call this the Cam curse. Sorry to Florida and all their fans. But another week where I put a team in the back end of my top 25 and they lose. And Florida was at 25 last week.
Hey, Vandy. 2 SEC wins in a row. And they're 5-6. Next week bowl eligible.
And who do they play this week?
They play Tennessee.
Ooh.
Without Hendon Hooker.
Ooh.
They're a 14-point dog. At home.
That's something to monitor this week then, because if they have 5 wins, something we'll talk about next episode. Anything else you want to say about that game?
Florida's just not a very good team this year. They had a chance to maybe revive their record a little bit if they beat Vandy, but they didn't. And this week's going to be a very tough game for Florida, I think, to win. But yeah.
Kansas State, West Virginia, the game that I did not watch any of. Kansas State won by, I think, a touchdown. I'm trying to look at the scores, but my ESPN app keeps crashing so much I would look at it on Google. But I know Kansas State won, but I don't think it was by a lot. Oh, well, never mind.
It was by a lot.
They won 48-31. West Virginia's just been a bad team.
JT Daniels benched.
But Kansas State, without Adrian Martinez, gets a win. Deuce Vaughn doesn't have a great game either. But,
Kansas State controls their own destiny to the Big 12 title game.
Yeah, something we'll talk about on the next episode. But, yeah, didn't watch a snap on it. But Kansas State, again, is just, like I've said before, a team that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
They lose a big game, but then they beat the crap out of the other teams. similar to Penn State almost.
Yeah.
I think Kansas State and Penn State are very similar teams. Louisville, NC State. NC State drops another ACC game to a inferior, I guess would be the word. Kind
Louisville's
of.
7-4
Yeah,
too.
yeah. Louisville's been on the come up recently, but
They really turned their season around.
yeah, they have. Offense. I mean, they only scored 25 points, but still, that offense has kind of got rejuvenated since the beginning of the season. And I mean, NC State just.
Will they still be ranked? Probably.
Yeah, well, at this rate, yeah. So that, by the way, the guy was been praising the past couple weeks while still hating on NC State. MJ Morris doesn't play and they lose.
Yeah.
Ben Finley played.
Any relation to Ryan?
Yes,
Finley?
I'm pretty sure it's his brother. 16 for 35, 201 yards.
Yeah. Gross.
Yeah. I mean, not a good look from NC State's offense at all.
Soon becoming a theme.
Louisville's running back had 105 yards on 16 carries for a touchdown. So good for him. Texas, Kansas was a absolute massacre.
Revenge game for Texas.
Yeah.
They lost last year.
55 to 14. Quinn Ewers 12 for 21, 107 yards and a touchdown. And then you're like, how did they score 55 points? Well, then you scroll down and you see Bijan Robinson, 25 carries, 243 yards, 4 touchdowns. And I'm pretty sure this is their other running back. 11 carries, 108 yards, 2 touchdowns. Great game from Texas's running game. By the way, Jaden Daniels is back, if you did not know.
Who? Jaden Daniels?
Yeah.
Oh, Jalen Daniels.
Jalen Daniels. Sorry, I don't know why I said Jaden. 17 for 26, 230 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. Not terrible.
No.
But still, you got to beat 55-14. So that's it for that game. You got anything to add on that one?
No.
No, the rest of these games I kind of just watched here and there of. So we'll go back to 12 o'clock and start with Illinois, Michigan. And these two that next we're going to talk about are probably the two biggest games of the day. Illinois gave Michigan a really close game, came on a field goal. And, I mean, 14 points in the third quarter from Illinois was the big part for them. Their offense looked pretty good. Their running back, 29 carries, 140 yards, 2 touchdowns. Quarterback, 21 for 30, 178 yards, no touchdowns. But Michigan just kind of had it going early and then, I wouldn't say kept it because they had to kick a field goal to win the game, but
they kind of got lucky. There was a couple of calls and stuff down the stretch. I'm not saying it was on the refs, but just a couple of things went their way at the end, but great teams find a way to win those games.
Yep. And, I mean, Illinois is a good team.
They're solid.
Can't knock them. They've got a good defense, and they've got a decent offense.
3 games skid, though.
Yeah. And, I mean, Blake Corum, 18, 108 and a touchdown. J.J. McCarthy, 18, 34, 208. Yeah, didn't get to watch. I was trying to watch that as we were at the app game. Because I knew it was close, but I ended up losing service at one point and couldn't continue to watch it. And then another game that we watched, I was mainly focused on before we went to the app game was the TCU Baylor game. Max Duggan, 24 for 35, 327 yards and a touchdown. They really didn't have any run game, and Quentin Johnson was held to 4 receptions for 48 yards. I think Baylor's defense had a great scheme, but ultimately TCU gets them in the end.
That game-winning field goal was wild.
Yeah. I mean, Blake Shapen, 21 for 30, 269 yards and a touchdown and a pick. Their running back had 19 for 112. I mean, Baylor really kind of did all they could do and just fell short. Unfortunately for them, because I picked them to win that game. Next is a game that, well, you were at in person for a quarter and a half, and I was at in person for 2 quarters. App and Old Dominion.
Absolute massacre. I don't even know what the final score was.
It was 27-14. So you look at the score, you're like,
We were up 24-0 though.
Yeah, it was 24-0 at halftime. The offense actually looked pretty good, and the defense looked pretty good. I know Old Dominion's offense isn't amazing, but I'm pretty sure I said that.
Yeah.
I was like, I think the defense will scheme the offense pretty well, and we'll just kind of control the game. And that's really what we did. I haven't even looked at the stats. I know my man Caden Robinson had like 3 receptions for 103 yards and a touchdown or something like that. Their quarterback was besides being 22 for 38, which isn't great, he had 308 yards and 2 touchdowns. They had a receiver 4 for 133 and 2 touchdowns. Chase Bryce 15-22, 291, 2 touchdowns. Amadi Marshall 19 runs for 137 yards and a touchdown. So that's where that came from. Next is your team. You can go ahead, Georgia, Kentucky.
It was just a weird game. I mean, you never really felt like Georgia was going to lose, but they never got it going offensively. They only punted once. It was just the clock was moving the whole game. Stetson didn't play great. Georgia didn't run the ball great. But on a weekend where all the top teams had close games, I'll take a 10-point win.
Yeah. And, I mean, Kentucky had the chance. They missed that field goal there towards the end of the fourth quarter on a bad snap and hold. But that would have made it 16-9 with them getting a chance when y'all's offense really wasn't clicking. But that's how games go. You don't get everything that you want. Next is Ohio State, Maryland. 43-30 was the final score in that one. Score doesn't indicate what actually happened, though. Maryland had the ball with like 2 minutes left, down 7.
They threw a pick 6, yeah.
I think it was a fumble.
Yeah.
Scoop and score, either way. But they were deep in their own territory, and Talia fumbled while getting hit, trying to throw the ball. Ohio State picks it up, walks it in the end zone. But again, like you said, with Michigan, great teams find ways to win those games. And Ohio State won the game. I didn't really get to watch much besides that, though. Anything you want to add on Ohio State?
I mean, Maryland's a solid team. They had a good bounce-back game.
Yeah.
It seemed, like I said, all the top teams seemed to struggle this week. And Ohio State and Michigan, obviously, were looking ahead. And that game's going to be incredible. But I don't take anything away from it. You're undefeated at this point. You're undefeated.
One of the top teams, well, the only top team besides Alabama who played an FCS school to not struggle this week was the Clemson Tigers.
Yeah.
We beat Miami 40-10. I mean, we did, to be fair, we did score with like 7 seconds left. But it was, the backups were in, and we literally were just handing the ball off, and we happened to get the yards to get down to the end zone and score.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we honestly kind of dominated that game. Our defensive front came through when need be, got sacks when need be, and our offense was clicking, and I honestly think that I know Miami's not the best team right now, but I honestly think if we play like we did Saturday, we can compete with some of the teams that I might have said we couldn't compete with last week.
Yeah.
The upset, next, we'll go to the upset, Georgia Tech and North Carolina. North Carolina, I mean, it doesn't end their season. They're still in the ACC championship. They can still finish with 2 losses and be ACC champions. But ends their very small playoff hopes.
I talked to somebody yesterday, and they're a Carolina fan, and I told them that this game really didn't mean anything to North Carolina. They weren't making the playoff anyways, and they still have a chance to make the ACC title game. It might hurt their chance to make a New Year's 6, but they can still be ACC champs. They weren't making the playoff anyways. So.
Yeah, that's reasonable, but losing to Georgia Tech is kind of inexcusable.
You're right.
On their behalf. No offense to Georgia Tech. They have 4 wins, I think, this year now.
They have 5 wins now.
5 wins. Oh, I forgot about that, yeah. Something we can look forward to.
They got a great chance to become bowl eligible.
But yeah, I just I mean, UNC bad. Drake May kind of diminished his Heisman hopes with that one.
If we had the 12-team playoff this year, that game would have mattered.
Yeah. Then we'll go to the slaughter, South Carolina, Tennessee.
First off, prayers to Hendon Hooker.
Yeah, for sure. It's terrible to see not a bad player, a good, really good player have a bad injury like that. We've seen it in not only college football or even in football in general and other sports where guys have bad injuries like that and they end up not ever being the same as they were.
Yeah.
So hopefully he can get back healthy quick and be back to the player that he was. But to talk about the game, South Carolina's offense looked amazing.
Did they punt? I think they punted once.
Yeah, maybe. I don't even know. And just Tennessee's defense being vulnerable again. Like we've seen a couple games this year from them. I mean, they still put up, 40-something points?
38 points.
38 points, which in any other week wouldn't have been that terrible.
Well, you knew that with Tennessee, their offense had to be perfect almost every week because their defense was just not very good this year.
And a team just like that, we just talked about, UNC is kind of like that too.
And the offense, I'm not saying it wasn't clicking, but it wasn't, it wasn't the same necessarily. And, their defense just didn't show up at all.
Yeah. But that's really all I can say about that one.
Ends Tennessee's
ends,
very likely playoff hopes.
Yeah, ends Tennessee's playoff hopes. And, well, unfortunately with the loss of Hendon Hooker, it's almost like, were they going to make it? If they did make it, right? If they lost Hendon Hooker but still won that game, what would they have looked like?
The way Vandy's playing, we'll see.
Yeah. And then here's an interesting one. Is Arkansas and Ole Miss?
Arkansas blew Ole Miss out.
They get KJ Jefferson back.
And Rocket. What's his name?
Sanders.
Rocket Sanders.
Yeah, Raheem Sanders, yeah.
Those two guys have been banged up all year.
Yeah.
And you wonder what their season would have looked like if those two were healthy all year.
And, it's crazy to say this because I said this earlier, like one of the very first episodes probably. If you stop Ole Miss's run game, it looks like you beat them.
And that's exactly what happened.
No, it is not.
Is it not?
Quinshawn Judkins had 214 yards and Zach Evans had 207 yards.
Good Lord. So they had 500 yards of offense.
Yeah, Jackson Dart had 240 yards throwing. And they still lost. I don't know how that happens. They must have had fumbles. They must have fumbled or something because they only threw one pick. There's no way you had that much yards of offense.
Well, that game was 40-6 at one point.
7.9. Ole Miss had more first downs.
Look at the fourth down conversions. Look at the turnovers.
Better third down. Better fourth down.
3-0 in turnovers.
Yep. That's it. Lost 2 fumbles. That's pretty much it. And Arkansas, even though they ran 24 less plays, had almost the same amount of time of possession by less than a minute. Great showing by Arkansas on their offense. They become bowl eligible now, and they play LSU. No, Texas A&M this week. No. Who do they play this week?
Mizzou.
Missouri. So winnable game. Gonna be 7-5 and be in a decently favored bowl game probably. Then just, man, we got to stop talking about Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State. We both picked Oklahoma State to win, and
what happened to Oklahoma State?
Yeah, I don't know, man. They just, I don't even know. It's really bad, honestly. Now, to be fair to Oklahoma State, they were down 28-0 in the first quarter and only lost 28-13. So shout out to their defense, I guess. But they got Spencer Sanders back, and that's it right there. It's not a game that I watched, but now I figured out why. 36 for 67, 381, 1 touchdown, 4 picks.
Yep, that'll do it.
Yeah. Not very. Oklahoma was 1 for 14 on third downs.
That's wild.
And ran 30 less plays, punted 2 more times, and had 15 less minutes of possession.
It's just the turnovers.
Yeah. So Wake Forest situation almost.
Yep.
Oklahoma State now 7-4. Oklahoma with that win, bowl eligible.
Okay.
And Oklahoma State has, I think they have a tough game this week. I could be wrong, but never mind. They play West Virginia. So maybe they bounce back. I don't know. And Oklahoma plays Texas Tech. That doesn't really matter. And then last two, we've got 2 Pac-12 games. Possibly the 2 biggest games of the day. Well, maybe.
Definitely USC, UCLA.
USC, UCLA is the first one. You want to talk about that?
That was an absolutely amazing game.
Yeah.
You figured whoever had the ball last was going to win.
Mm-hmm.
Even though the last 2 possessions ended in a defensive stop.
Yeah.
Caleb Williams looked like a Heisman candidate. Jordan Addison looked like a Heisman candidate. DTR in spots did, but he threw 3 picks.
Yeah, and ultimately the game deciding pick right
Mm-hmm.
there. And if you look at it, not a great throw, not a great read. Don't really know what he was doing on that play,
but Caleb Williams it's looking like he could end up winning the Heisman.
Yeah. Especially if he has a good game this week against Notre Dame and C.J. Stroud doesn't look good against Michigan.
Yep. I think Caleb Williams is above Blake Corum now. With Blake Corum going out with that injury, especially.
Yeah, it's a hard top 3 because it's like you look at what all Blake Corum has done.
Yeah.
And what
you look at what Caleb Williams has done.
Yeah,
he just plays on the West Coast.
Yeah. Really not much to say after that. I mean, obviously, Southern Cal keeps their likely playoff hopes alive.
Yeah. I mean, they control their own destiny now for sure.
Yeah. And UCLA just, I mean, after dropping a bad game to Arizona, they get California this week. California hasn't been good this year. No. So hopefully they can get a little bounce back win this week. They would finish 9-3. They're going to go to a bowl game. They're going to go to a decently sized bowl game anyways.
Yeah.
But, yeah. And then last but not least, Utah-Oregon, another good game. Oregon wins by 3.
Oregon's finally able to beat Utah.
Yeah. And I just kind of knew that the environment, I think, was going to play a factor in that game, and I think it did. Cameron Rising, just really bad game. Honestly, bad game from the whole entire Utah offense. Cameron Rising, 21 for 38, 170, and 3 picks. They didn't have a lot
to see from him.
They only had 156 rushing yards, which Oregon only had 59. But Oregon didn't run the ball, I don't think, near as much as Utah did. Bo Nix, 25 for 37, 287, 1-1. They had a receiver who had 4 receptions for 151 yards. But yeah, I think it was just the turnovers. Oh well, no, not really. Oregon had 3 turnovers, also. So, yeah, Oregon punted more, ran less plays, had about the same. Well, there it is. Utah 1 for 4 on 4th downs.
Ooh, yeah,
Oregon
that'll
won
do it.
Oregon 1 for 1. So yeah, that's the recap. The point system.
I don't want to admit this.
The point system. We had a guest, Mr. Davis, last week. Davis finishes with 8 points. Jacob finishes with 5.5. And I finished with 7.5. So congrats to Davis on his win, on his feature of the podcast. It's kind of crazy to think as he literally was just randomly picking stuff.
Yep.
And we can talk about ranking. You want to talk about rankings Heisman next episode?
Yeah, we can do that next episode.
Okay.
We can just go through
scenarios and pick them next episode. So I guess that's it for this episode, unless you
want to go through any of the games for next week, or you want to do that next episode too?
You want to talk about some of these rivalry games right now, and then
we can do that. Go ahead.
Okay. So it's rivalry week. There we go. Last week college football, this happens every year where all these rivals play each other. Not a ton of big games, like I feel like there usually is, but a lot of games that mean stuff for most teams.
Yep.
You got the list?
Yeah.
So we can start with Thursday, Thanksgiving every year, Egg Bowl. Thursday night is Mississippi State and Ole Miss. Mississippi State is, if I'm correct, 7-4. Ole Miss is 8-3.
Is that right?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Football. Where is it?
Look it up on ESPN.
Hold on. Mississippi State is 1 loss, 2 losses, 3 losses, 4 losses. Yeah, they're 7-4.
Okay. Yeah, and Ole Miss has lost to LSU, Arkansas, and
Alabama.
No, yeah, you're right. Maybe they have 4 losses too.
No, they have 3. Because Alabama was their second loss.
Okay. Are you gonna put it on there or no?
I'll put it on here.
Okay, cool. So Mississippi State is at Ole Miss this year. Ole Miss is -2.5. Both teams bowl eligible.
I'm taking Ole Miss. I don't think they drop 3 in a row, especially at home.
I'm gonna do the same. And I'm also gonna take them cover.
I'll also take the cover.
I'll just put the same. Then we got Baylor at Texas. Texas. Well, see that right there though. That's not what I was gonna talk about next episode.
Okay, we can go to the next one then.
All right.
We can go to North Carolina.
Yeah. Okay. NC State, North Carolina. NC State's at North Carolina this year. North Carolina's -6.5. As of right now, on Monday, they are both ranked. However, tomorrow night.
They might be.
Well,
NC State seems to make it.
It is likely that at least one of them will not be ranked, if not 2.
Yeah.
However, I didn't drop UNC out of my rankings though. But,
no, I have UNC in the top 20 still.
I did drop NC State out. I put UNC at 22. I just don't think that offense of NC State can keep up with UNC's. I'll take UNC to win, but they can't ever beat anybody. So 6.5. I'll take NC State to cover, I guess.
I'll take UNC to win and cover. I think they bounce back. I don't think NC State will be able to do anything against that offense.
Yeah. Next is Nebraska. Well,
that's a scenario game. We can do Florida State.
Yeah, so Florida State. Florida's at Florida State. It's -9.5 Florida State.
FSU's hot. Florida's not.
The offense is hot. I'm going to take FSU to win, but I think Florida covers. I think FSU to win, Florida covers, yeah.
I'm going to take FSU to cover 9.5. I think FSU's going to blow them out.
Okay, we hold off on Michigan, Ohio State. We can go ahead and talk about this one. South Carolina at Clemson. Clemson is -14.5. That's a tough one in Death Valley. And the way South Carolina looked last week, hard to pick. I can't pick. Obviously, I'm not picking against my team. I'll take Clemson to win, but I'll take South Carolina to cover.
I will also take South Carolina to cover.
I just don't know how much our offense can outscore theirs. You know what I mean?
Well, it's that, and y'all are favored by over 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, that's crazy, especially in a rivalry game. Illinois Northwestern. We can go and talk about Illinois is eliminated.
Not officially.
Yeah, they are.
Are they? I think if Iowa and Purdue lose.
No, because Illinois lost to one of those two, and I can't remember which one it was.
Okay.
They beat Iowa. They lost to Purdue, I think.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's what it was, but
If we're picking this one, I'm taking Illinois to win and cover 14. I read earlier, though, that Illinois still has a chance.
I'm looking right now.
It's like a 4% chance, but...
They beat Iowa.
I think
they lost to Purdue. So
I think them and Purdue have the same record.
No, Purdue is one up on them.
Are they?
I'm pretty sure.
Purdue, no.
Yeah.
They're both 7-2, and they're both. So if Purdue loses,
No, but look, conference. So if Purdue was to lose, they'd be 5-4. If Illinois wins, they'd be 5-4. Purdue would have the tiebreaker.
oh, you're right.
Yeah. Yeah. So that game doesn't matter that much. Purdue at Indiana. Purdue minus 10.5. Give me Purdue.
Win and cover.
No. Give me Indiana to cover.
I'm gonna say the same.
I don't think Indiana will get beat by that much at home. Last week of the season. Indiana might.
If we talk about this one though, we might as well talk about Iowa and Nebraska. Iowa's at Nebraska. Iowa's a 10.5 point favorite.
Well, yeah, but if Iowa wins, they do make the Big Ten.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm gonna say.
But okay, that's fine.
Coastal James Madison, a game that remotely doesn't matter anymore, which I thought it did, but it doesn't. So they are tied. Well, no, sorry. Coastal has one game on James Madison right now in Sunbelt East. So if James Madison was to win, they would win the Sunbelt East. However, because of them being their first year in the Sunbelt, they cannot go to the championship game, which is kind of dumb. But so Coastal has automatically locked that spot up. Coastal's at James Madison and is minus 13.5.
No, James Madison is minus 13.
Oh, sorry. James Madison is minus 13.5. I'll take Coastal to win that game.
Yeah, I don't know why JMU's favored over Coastal. I think Coastal is a superior team.
Especially by that much.
Yeah.
We'll hold that one.
Okay.
Alabama Auburn, a game that sometimes matters, but this year doesn't really. Alabama's at Auburn.
Auburn is at Alabama. I messed that up.
Okay. Auburn's at Alabama. Alabama's minus 22. Bama is looking to keep their playoff hopes alive, but needs some madness to happen within these next 2 weeks.
Do they?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll take Alabama to win, and I'll take Alabama to cover.
I think Auburn's in give up mode.
They are. I think like that game will be like 38-3.
Doesn't matter. This game doesn't matter really. We'll talk about this next one.
Minnesota's eliminated.
Yeah.
We can go ahead and talk about Iowa State TCU. TCU's already locked the spot in the Big 12.
It's just big because they're trying to stay undefeated.
Yeah, I know. Iowa State at TCU. TCU's minus 10.5. I don't think Iowa State can get that done. I'm going to take TCU to win. And I'm going to take TCU to cover, honestly.
I'm taking TCU win, ISU cover. TCU doesn't win games by more than 10 points.
Okay. App State, Georgia Southern will hold. LSU, Texas A&M, we can go and talk about. LSU just looking to keep their playoff hopes alive. They're at Texas A&M. They are minus 10. Give me LSU and cover.
I think that Texas A&M is a complete dumpster fire right now.
Yeah, I do too. However, I would like to see Texas A&M win that game because the memes would be hilarious.
Oh yeah.
Towards LSU.
Save that.
We'll save that. Yeah.
We'll talk about this one.
Yeah, we're going to talk about this one. Tennessee minus 14 at Vandy. Vandy is on a 2-game winning streak in the SEC, and they, with a win, would become bowl eligible. And Tennessee, like we said, going to miss Hendon Hooker. Tough because I really don't know what Tennessee is going to look like. Give me Vandy. Vandy gets bowl eligible.
You know what's wild? I'm going to do it too.
Yeah, I just want to do it just because. And then we can hold that one too.
Okay.
Let me go ahead and talk about this right now. This is the last thing I want to do on this episode because I just talked about Vanderbilt getting bowl eligible. So as of right now, there's 73 teams bowl eligible.
Okay.
And we can go ahead and you can go back on there, go to Georgia Southern app. We can talk about that first. There are 73 teams bowl eligible, and there are 17 teams playing this week to become bowl eligible. there's 2 versus games is what I'm going to call them. So 2 teams trying to become bowl eligible with their win, right, facing each other.
Okay.
So one is App State and Georgia Southern. App State does have 6 wins. However, because 2 of those are FCS wins, they only technically have 5 wins in bowl eligibility terms. So they do need this win. Georgia Southern 5 and 6. App is at Georgia Southern. They're -5. I hate Georgia Southern. Give me App. Give me the App to cover
2. I can't pick against App. I'll take App.
Especially after what we've been through watching them play Georgia Southern.
Part of me wants to pick Southern, but we're not going to lose.
And then the other versus game that I want to talk about on there is Ball State and Miami, Ohio on Tuesday night action. We don't need to talk about spreads on these because I want to do this as a segment where we just try to predict if these teams can be bowl eligible or not, right? So Ball State is, let me look, I think at Miami, Ohio.
Okay.
Yes, Ball State is at Miami, Ohio. It is tomorrow night, Tuesday night. Ball State has Carson Steele, I'm pretty sure. I think I might have to take Ball State, honestly. Yeah, give me Ball State to win that game.
I'll go the other way. I'll take Miami of Ohio.
Okay. So the next is a team that we have just talked about. Auburn, playing Alabama. I do not think Auburn gets bowl eligible this week.
I do not either. Another one that's 5 and 6 playing for their bowl eligibility is Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech
against Georgia.
Against Georgia is another team I do not think is bowl eligible.
They're 35-point dogs.
Now here's a team that I did want to talk about real quick. This is another MAC team, and I kind of feel bad for them, honestly, because they were scheduled to play Akron this past week. Is Buffalo, and their game got canceled because of the snow. Akron is like probably the laughing stock of NCAA football. So now Buffalo finds themselves at 5-5. Probably would have been 6-5, playing for bowl eligibility against a pretty decent Kent State team.
Where's the game?
I lied. Kent State's 4-7. It is at Buffalo. I think Buffalo does get bowl eligible this week.
I also think that.
Next is Florida Atlantic, Conference USA.
Okay.
They have a tough matchup this week to try to get bowl eligible. They're at home, but they're playing Western Kentucky, who, we'll talk about this more, is playing for a spot in the Conference USA Championship currently.
Give me Western Kentucky.
I would too. I'm going to say Florida Atlantic does not get bowl eligible. Next is Louisiana Lafayette. They're playing for bowl eligibility against Texas State, who isn't great. That rhymed. That's kind of weird. Texas State is 4-7. Lafayette's 5-6, obviously, and they are at Texas State though.
Give me Lafayette.
I do think Lafayette does get bowl eligible also. Then we go to. Actually, I'm gonna just skip around. I'm gonna stop going in alphabetical order. I'm gonna stay in the Sun Belt. Another team looking to get bowl eligible in the Sun Belt is Southern Miss. Their first year in the Sun Belt. They have Louisiana Monroe this week.
They're going to win.
At Louisiana Monroe. And Louisiana Monroe is 4-7. Better than I thought they were. Yeah, I'm gonna also take Southern Miss. I do think that they get bowl eligible this week. Next is in the ACC. I'm gonna go back to alphabetical order. Is Miami Hurricanes. They are playing Pittsburgh this week at home, and
I'm taking Pitt.
I'm gonna take Miami. I think Miami gets bowl eligible.
I'm taking Pitt.
Next is in the Big 12, a team that you probably didn't expect to be here. Michigan State.
Big 10.
What did I say?
Big 12.
Oops. Michigan State is playing Penn State.
Where's the game?
At Penn State.
Penn State by a million.
I'm going to say Penn State beats Michigan State and does not let them get bowl eligible. Here's another team that we talked about a little, just very, very briefly.
Penn State getting to 10 wins.
They play Friday at 3:30. Is Missouri. They're at home against Arkansas. They're playing for bowl eligibility. I'm going to sorry to Missouri, but I'm going to say they did not get bowl eligible. I think Arkansas wins that game.
I'm also taking Arkansas.
Then there's another team out of Conference USA is Rice. They're at North Texas, who's also competing for that spot in the Conference USA Championship with Western Kentucky right now. I don't think that Rice will beat North Texas. I don't think they get bowl eligible.
You don't lose to food. Give me North Texas.
And then there's two more teams real quick out of the Conference USA while we're here. UAB, who plays Louisiana Tech at Louisiana Tech this week. And Louisiana Tech is 3-8. I'm going to say UAB gets bowl eligible this week.
Give me also UAB.
And then the last team, I don't think they get bowl eligible, is a rivalry game. They're playing UTSA, who's like 9-2, I think, right now. So give me UTEP to not get bowl eligible. I think UTSA wins that game. And then the last one is Vandy.
Wow. Yep, Vandy.
And we already said it. Give me Vandy to get bowl eligible.
Yep. Taking Vandy to win.
So that's all for this episode that we got. Next episode, again, we'll talk about a couple other games this upcoming week.
Yep.
Some of the bigger games, probably, and the games that mean more. We'll talk about some scenarios. We'll do our Superdog biggest spread hot take and talk about the rankings in Heisman. So we appreciate y'all tuning in as usual, and we'll see y'all in 2 to 3 days.
All right. Thank y'all.
Thank y'all. Peace out.